It's very convenient for a devil to have the excuse that, oh, this is not my problem, it's not my responsibility because it falls outside of my circle of concern. And of course, the devil deliberately draws the circle of concern extremely narrowly to serve his ego. His ego is that circle of concern. And it's usually a very dense, narrow ego. So the function of our work here and with spirituality is to expand that circle of concern until it becomes infinite. And then you have no more excuses. Everything is your problem. Everything is your responsibility. Another example is how easily single-issue voters get misled, for example, in American politics. This is a very popular way to manipulate people. Most people aren't very well educated about all the issues that are important to a well-functioning society. Instead, they have a couple of pet things that they care about, some hot-button trigger issues. For example, I don't know how government works, but I want my guns. I don't know how government works, but I care about abortion being illegal. And so on those issues, it's very easy for a devil to manipulate me in that case, because all he has to do is fearmonger to me about how they're going to take my guns away. And then I'm going to go vote for anybody who's pro-gun, the most pro-gun, without considering, though, the larger issues at stake. Even if, let's say that the Second Amendment was very important to protect. But if you really think about it, is it really that important? Like, I mean, it's important. Let's say it's important. But is it more important than the health of the entire country? Is it more important than the economy? Is it more important than healthcare? Is it more important than the environment? Is it more important than anti-corruption laws? Is it more important than campaign finance reform? Is it more important than the judicial system, right? So I'm like, obviously not. Even if you love guns just ridiculously much, still you have to admit it's not more important than all those other issues combined. So when you go to vote for president, for example, or for a senator, what you have to really consider is the totality of the situation, not a narrow issue. And so most people who vote, they vote on a single issue that they've been galvanized or fearmongered about, whether it's abortion, guns, or healthcare or something like that. But that's not what is most important. And so this leads to the political pathologies that we experience today. To have a well-functioning democracy, we need citizens that are so holistic that they care about the well-being and health of the entire country, but not even just the country, but actually the entire world. And they have to vote in that manner, and they have to be immune against fear-mongering and manipulation by devils on single narrow issues. Because a single issue is not important as all the issues, by definition. And hey, I mean, I understand. When I was younger, I loved guns. I was sort of a gun nut. Me and my friend was sort of into the military. He went to Iraq. But like in high school and in college, you know, we would hang out together. We would create like fireworks and explosives and stuff. We would blow shit up. We would shoot guns. We would go to shooting ranges. We would talk about guns. We would have magazines and catalogs of guns. So like, I get it. And I grew up in California. So in California, we had the strictest gun laws. And at that time, I thought like, well, why can't I have a fully automatic gun? Like, I want that. That would be so cool. But then as I matured and my circle of concern expanded, my whole holistic thinking expanded, I realized that, you know, I still think guns are cool. I'll go to a shooting range and shoot a fully auto. I did that recently in Vegas. But I also understand that my passion for guns is a much lower priority compared to other issues we've got going on. And no matter how much I love guns, my love for guns can't outweigh the love that parents have for their children when they get shot in schools, right? So you have to balance this stuff out. And what that required of me is that required more empathy, increasing my circle of concern, and setting aside my own agenda. It literally required me to become selfless in that area, where I had to say, you know what? As much as I love guns and as cool as it would be to own a fully automatic machine gun, maybe if we want to have a healthy, peaceful world, that's not the right way to go. And I have to surrender that for a greater good, for a greater harmony and balance. Because if I'm just going to be stuck on this one issue, that's going to distort my entire thinking about politics for the rest of my life. And think of how pathological that is. Yet this is exactly what we have going on with our politics these days. So the way that a devil operates, and by devil I just mean any deeply selfish organism, is that it creates a very narrow circle of concern within infinite consciousness, and then it defends that to the death. And it externalizes every single, how should I call it? Every single, I mean, it basically feeds off of its environment, right? When you draw that circle, you're getting nutrients from the environment, you're leaching those, and then you're excreting, literally, you're shitting out the stuff that's not useful to you into the environment. This is how an organism functions at the highest level. Well, that's literally how most of our corporations function, how most of our religions function, how most of our families, friends, and others function, is like this. This is called externalities. These are sort of the excrements of life. And it's these externalities you end up shitting on others. You know, a good example of an externality is when a bird shits on your windshield. That was the bird's externality. And then you're not happy about it because your windshield got shat upon. You got to clean it up. Happened to me recently. So, but see, this is how most humans behave. They create these gross externalities, whether it's a company or a religion or a political party or an individual person, without being conscious or taking responsibility of the shit they put out, the collateral damage they cause. And then this creates a toxic commons for everybody to swim in. We're all swimming in the same pool and everyone's shitting in it. That's fundamentally our problem as humans. And so when you realize that, that takes holism to realize, right? Because if you lack holistic thinking, you can just think you can shit in the corner of the pool and everything will be okay. But when you realize we're all swimming in the same pool, you start to take responsibility for where you shit. And then the pool becomes more enjoyable to swim in for you and for everybody else. And it all begins with you. Because if you say, oh, Leo, I'm going to stop shitting in the pool only when everybody else does, well then, everyone else is going to say that too, because they think just like you, because they don't want to take responsibility. They don't want to lead. And then we swim in a shit-filled pool for the rest of our lives. Someone has to lead. It might as well be you. And of course, that means you have to be less selfish. That's what leadership is. Ta-da! Leadership is nothing other than selflessness. The more selfless you are, the better of a leader you're going to be.